guidance. Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. And so it is as though this surah is a response. It's the first response to that request in the timeless order of the Mus'haf. Of course, I'm not talking about the chronological order of the Quran, but the divinely ordained, sequence in which the Quran is eventually compiled. Allah begins with words that we can't even understand, which is important because that puts our attitudes in check. Do not come to this book expecting that you know everything. Come to this book understanding and acknowledging that you know nothing, that Allah only knows. And until you have that attitude of, I like to call it intellectual humility, but specifically that you're not going to be able to take in what guidance is supposed to be. So Alif Lam Mim it puts the human being in his place. And then now that you're put in your place, then you're told, well, why don't I know? How come I don't understand what this is? Well, you don't know what this is because this is not from human beings. This is from a higher source. And he only opens the doors of his wisdom to whoever he wants, and whatever he lets you know, he lets you know. Whatever he keeps hidden, he keeps hidden. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ. This ayah can be understood multiple ways. We'll go through all of them. ذَلِكَ, first of all, means that. And that in Arabic is an ism ishara lil ba'id. It's a pointing word. It's a demonstrative noun for the distant. The closer one is hada. The closer pointer is hada, and this is dhalika. Of course, the book was right there being recited, so how come Allah refers to it as dhalika? Well, the benefit of that is that the word kitab is used. Kitab, of course, commonly translated as book, means something that is etched or carved in or written or documented. The actual documented Quran is not here. It's very far away. It's in the seventh heaven. It's in Lawh al-Mahfuz. It's that term that's used in the Quran in Surah Al-Buruj. بَلْ هُوَ قُرْآنٌ مَجِيدٌ فِي لَوْحٍ مَحْفُوظ. Kitabun Maknoon, other places call it. Ummul Kitab, other places call it, the hidden book, the covered book. Then Allah calls it a book that is the mother of all books, the essence of all revelation. That is with Allah. And so when Allah refers to the written, He's referring to that sacred document that is up there, fi suhufin mutahharatin marfu'atin, those scriptures. So dhalika is appropriate because it's referring to something very, very far away. That in fact is the book, no doubt about it. La raib. If you stop at la raib, dhalika al-kitabu la raib, that is in fact the book, no doubt. In other words, this is clearly answering the question of, you asked for guidance. No doubt this is the book that offers that guidance. There's no doubt about it. This is what you were asking for, no doubt. It is the continuation of that conversation. Other ways of looking at this is, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. There's no doubt in it. In other words, this book it has a special quality to it, and that quality is there can be absolutely no doubt whatsoever in this book. Whenever you read this book, whatever you read in this book, whether you understand it or not, one thing is clear: you can never doubt its legitimacy, that it's from Allah. That's not possible. For someone who comes to it with the right attitude, that doubt is impossible. There are people I've met more and more recently that read the Quran and then fall into doubt. They weren't doubtful before, but they start reading the Quran and say, this I read and it disturbed me and it's bothering me and I'm having problems with faith ever since I read this or this or this. Now, this seems to contradict exactly what Allah is saying. This is a book in which there isn't any possibility of any doubt whatsoever in it. But then Allah explains for who isn't there any doubt whatsoever. That doubtless guidance is there for hudan lil muttaqeen, is guidance for people who actually want to protect themselves. And we'll talk a little bit more about protecting themselves a little later, but I want to go back a little further one more time. Alif Lam Mim dhalika al-kitab. Alif Lam Mim is in fact that book. Some argue that Alif Lam Mim is one of the names of the Quran, and that it's the subject, it's the muqtada of the sentence, and dhalika al-kitab is the khabar. Alif Lam Mim is in fact that book that has this knowledge that was previously unknown. La rayba fihi, in which there's no doubt whatsoever. La rayba fihi hudan, another way of looking at it. La rayba fihi hudan. There's no doubt about it that only in this book now is there guidance. When people who want to really protect themselves will look for guidance, they will only find it in this book. There's no doubt about that fact. La rayba fihi hudan. That's how I'm connecting it now. La rayba fihi hudan. Those two ideas are connected. In other words, there are people that are looking for guidance, but only the muttaqeen, someone who's genuinely concerned. And that's where the word muttaqeen really comes to light. Someone is looking for religions out of curiosity. And they literally, it's like a shopping experience. Like, I like this thing about this religion, I like that thing about that religion. And they're kind of, checking different religions out and finding interesting things in them, etc. Some are going through religions for an intellectual curiosity. This one's peculiar, this one's interesting, this one's nuanced, etc., etc. Some are more philosophically minded, they're looking for a more philosophical worldview, etc. But then there's a particular kind of person who says, I'm looking for the truth because I know my safety and my well-being lies in committing myself to the truth. When someone's concerned with their safety, that's the Arabic term muttaq. It comes from wiqaya, protection. Muttaq is someone making an effort to protect themselves. So when those who are really looking to protect themselves, save themselves, when they truly go out on a hunt, there's no doubt about it, it is in this Quran they will find timeless guidance. This is the book that will be guidance for those kinds of people, whoever they may be. They can even be people that haven't found this religion yet. But when they do, they will, because they had the attitude of wanting to protect themselves, they will be the ones that discover the truth of this faith. The last comment I want to make about this Alif Lam Mim, before we continue, is that Alif Lam Mim are names of letters in the Arabic language. Alif is the name of a letter, Lam is the name of a letter, Mim is the name of a letter. Our Messenger ﷺ did not know how to read or write. He was not given that opportunity. Allah Azza wa Jal made sure that he is from the ummiyin, the unlettered, those who do not read or write. وَمَا تَخُطُّهُ بِيَمِينِكَ وَمَا كُنْتَ تَتْلُو مِنْ قَبْلِهِ مِنْ كِتَابٍ وَمَا تَخُطُّهُ بِيَمِينِكَ إِذَا لَارْتَابَ الْمُبْطِلُونَ. You were never ever one that would read any book at all before this, nor did you write this with your hand because you're incapable of writing, in case that there are those who are falling into doubt, those who want to attribute a lie to you and cancel out this message if they're falling into doubt. Incidentally, that ayah in Surah Al-Ankabut also mentions doubt, when it refers to the messenger not being able to read or write. And interestingly, that same messenger is now saying the names of the letters of the alphabet, Alif, Lam, Mim. These letters and their names are not known to people that don't know how to read and write. The only person who learns the names of the alphabetical letters are people that know how to read and write. For the person who doesn't know that, these words are meaningless. They don't have, names of the alphabet, like a W or an X or whatever, has no meaning in and of itself, except that it represents a letter that someone learning to read refers to. That's important to note because this is a Madani surah, which means that it was revealed overall after the Prophet migrated, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when the Prophet migrated, he came into contact with a scholarly community, the Jewish community, in addition to the Christian community. Of course, the Christian community is bigger in size, overall, worldwide too. And the Jewish community is smaller in size. But religiously, the Jewish community is far more significant because they received many more prophets and they believe in all of the books and they have a lot more similarity to the Muslims, which is why the Jewish community is referred to a lot in the Quran. Anyhow, the Prophet comes into contact with them. And one of the things they prided themselves in, the Arab Jews in particular that were in Medina, they prided themselves over the fact that they are people of knowledge, they know how to read and write. Most people in Arabia at that time didn't know how to read and write. So this was something of a pride for them. And one of the ways for them to delegitimize, how can this be a prophet? He doesn't even know how to read and write. That was an easy kind of litmus test for them. How can he be a messenger? How can he get a book? He doesn't even know how to read and write. And it's almost as a response, Allah Azza wa Jal gives him Alif, Lam, Mim. That baffles even the rabbi or the scholar of the Jews that's sitting there like, how does he know names of letters? Wait, I thought he doesn't know any letters. That's because he's being taught by someone else. And on top of that, Allah didn't even say ذَلِكَ الْقُرْآنِ, that this is a recital. A recital can happen even from memory. But kitab, a book, can only be referred to by someone who's educated. So in the word kitab also there's a reference to the fact that this messenger is being educated from the unseen. He's getting knowledge of a book. Later on, we're going to read the word tatlu for the Prophet ﷺ. He reads, like an educated person reads. Allah makes him read from his heart. Allah makes him recite. It's a different kind of education. It's a divine sort of education. So let's go further. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. الَّذِينَ here is an adjective. Those muttaqeen who believe in the unseen. Those muttaqeen who believe in the unseen implies here not just they believe already, but they have the potential of believing. The mudari' form in Arabic, the present tense in Arabic, can refer to something that's happening now and will happen in the future. It doesn't need the prefix sa, like sa yu'minuna bil ghayb. It doesn't need that seen to carry the connotation of the future. In and of itself, it can carry that connotation too. So those who've already come to believe and those that will be coming to believe in the unseen, bil-ghaybi. وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ, and they establish the prayer. The connection between these two things has to be very clearly understood. You know, when ideas are put together in the Quran, there's a reason they're put together in a certain order. First, Allah mentions that these are people that want to protect themselves. Then Allah mentions they believe in the unseen. That's their first quality. In other words, they want to protect themselves from something that is not in the seen, that is in the unseen. Protecting yourself from the weather, protecting yourself from a danger that's headed your way in the seen world, that's obvious, that's easy. Even an animal can do that. These people have a higher sense of understanding. They realize there may be a greater danger to their well-being than just what they see in front of them. And protecting oneself goes further too. You know, a child that's trying to, do right by his or her parents, they're trying to protect themselves from disappointing their parents. It's not just fear of like getting hurt or getting beat or getting punished, but there's also a fear of my father won't be happy with me. My mother will not be proud of me. They'll be disappointed in me. So taqwa, it starts, you could say the starting point of taqwa with Allah, trying to protect ourselves. Maybe we're trying to protect ourselves in the beginning from punishment of Allah. But as that relationship matures, you start to love Allah more and more and more. And now you're trying to protect yourself from disappointing Allah, from falling short of Allah's expectations of you and me. So that relationship matures. It doesn't just remain just fear of fire or fear of, judgment, etc., etc. Okay? So this fear overwhelms them. And because this fear is of something they can't even see, they don't even see that exists. They, first of all, clearly are convinced. That's proof that they're clearly convinced in something they can't see. That is what drives their concern of taqwa. Taqwa cannot happen if someone is truly, truly not super convinced of what they can't see. Two people are talking and they're backbiting. One of them says, ittaqillah. The other one says, fear Allah, be cautious of Allah. If one truly believes in the unseen, they'll stop right away because that danger is real to them. Now imagine, two people are talking trash about somebody, and one of them sees, the third person they're talking about, they're saying bad things, he walks into the room, he says, hey, watch out, he's here. What will happen then? You'd immediately, because the danger is real, the embarrassment is real. One who will stop themselves really because of taqwa itself is proof that someone is convinced of what they cannot see. Now, caution, like a guard, protecting yourself is like playing the role of a guard. You're guarding yourself. And a guard can doze off, can he? A guard can get tired. A guard can waver. You can be on guard for a long time and then you can get lazy. So they put something in place in their life that keeps them on guard, that keeps their check in place. There's the security systems in place. What is that? وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ. And they establish the salat. They give the salat. The salat constantly reminds them of the reality that cannot be seen. Salat literally means connection. Connection. And it's beautiful because it connects us to Allah. But also salat connects us to the Quran. We know, Muslims know that this is Madani ayah, so salat has already been revealed. Salat connects us to Allah Azza wa Jal, but it connects us to Allah by connecting us to the Quran itself. The longest part of salat is the qiyam, when we stand and we recite the Quran. So yuqimuna salata. They establish that, they maintain that connection with Allah. When you're connected with someone all the time, you think about them all the time. You know how they say in English, out of sight, out of mind? Right? When you're with your children all the time, when you're with someone all the time, you play with them all the time, you think of them all the time. You don't see them for a couple of minutes. Where'd he go? Where is he? Because they're with you all the time. That's what happens. If you're sitting with your friend all the time in class, same friend every day. One day he or she's missing. Where'd she go? What's going on? You send her a text and try to find out what's up with you. When there's a constant connection, then you'll feel the loss. But if the connection gets weak, you don't sit with the same friend all the time. The connection is there, but it's not that strong. That even when they're not there, you're not going to realize until a long time. Right? That's what happens to a human being in all relationships. So Allah gave us salat, literally salat meaning connection, sila, connection, that we remain, that cautiousness stays alive, and our iman in the ghaib stays fresh. The ghaib, clearly something that we cannot see. So it takes an extra effort to remember it. It takes very little effort for you and me to take caution of the weather. All you have to do is stand outside for a couple of seconds and you know it's hot or it's cold, and you dress accordingly and you take precaution accordingly. But the dangers of the unseen, you have to go out of your way to check, to remind yourself. This is salat. Then finally, وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ, and this is positive reinforcement. Allah says, especially from what we have provisioned them, what we've provided them, they realize, by the way, rizq is the seen or the unseen? Is in the seen. My paycheck is in the seen. My house is in the seen. My car is in the seen. My refrigerator and what's in it, الثلاجة الفارغة, right? Arabic class. It's all in the seen. But Allah here makes it a matter of the unseen. What you see is the food on your plate. What you don't see is that Allah has provided it. Right? You don't see that necessarily. But these people, because they're so connected to Allah, whenever they see their rizq, they don't think of rizq as something they got themselves. It is mimma razaqnahum, out of what we have in fact provided them. And because they see all of the things they have in life like that, they see it as something not theirs, but something that Allah has provided them, then the next step becomes easy for them. It's easy for them to spend. I've given you guys this example before. You give a child a candy. You know, I'm at home. Let's say I'm at home, and Waleed is hanging out with me. And Waleed's very demanding sometimes. So let's say I'm eating a lollipop. And he's looking at me. Abba, can I have it? Abba, have it. I'll scream loud. I said, no, you can't have it. He says, please, Abba, please. 2-year-old knows how to say please. Please, Abba, a little bit. Okay, so I'll give it to him. Here. Just 2 licks. That's it. He takes it. 2 licks later, I say, can I have it back? What does he say? Mine. No. Can't let go. Allah gives. He gives. And then He asks back. And what do we say? Mine. My house. It's my money. It's my savings. It's not his. The one who believes in the unseen never forgets that it's not his. It's not hers. That's a consequence of truly believing in the unseen. These are all logical, consequences of one another. So these are the people of taqwa. Their taqwa, their cautiousness of Allah is rooted deeply in their belief in what they cannot see.